it was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be like a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
Okay guys, so it's Monday. This is our normal briefing session. So let's hear what happened the weekend. Our number is at 36. Is that correct? So we're 36 days without shooting of an individual. That is remarkable. It's the first time we get there. The last tally was 28, so 36 is quite good. Just what happened the weekend?
I think Friday and Saturday night was nice, quiet. The whole community was just braaiing, liquor, selling liquor. So we also did take a nice walk around the beach. And so now it was nice, quiet this weekend, Friday and Saturday.
Excellent.
Once you come into an area like Hanover Park and you take a placement as a minister, one of the things you need to do is a market analysis and assessment of the need of the area before you can do anything. So it was in 2002 we made this analysis. Have realized that there's a gang problem, there's a substance problem, there's issues with poverty and domestic violence, but the worst one was obviously the gang violence. So we decided to look at different methodologies and modules, how to curb the gang violence and also to assist the youngsters into other programs besides gang violence.
What else happened Friday?
This afternoon, Suleiman had us from a call he got from the Fancy Boys. They were actually looking for help. They was actually seeking for help from the guys that are high-risk guys. So we went down and go and speak with them. I'm supposed to go to them later today.
Okay. Saturday. What happened Saturday?
It was like a group of guys, I think it was 6 or 7 guys that was hitting the one guy. And me and Kiyam, we just spoke to them and nicely and they left.
Okay. Okay, so
it
that
wasn't a big
was
thing.
resolved there.
Yeah.
That was Saturday.
Saturday evening. Yes.
Okay, just I need that information to be recorded somewhere so that we can have that on record. Although it was not gang related, I just need to make a note of all the conflict mediations that you guys have done during the weekend.
Ceasefire is what we call a public health approach. You know, there's no law component in the ceasefire methodology. It's a public health approach. It's like you address TB or HIV. You look at what is the disease, who carries the disease, who's most likely to get the disease, and how can you stop the disease of being transferred from individual to individual. So you look at violence with the same binoculars, and we sort of design guys that has been involved in violence before. And we look at guys that has been in prison, we look at guys that's been in a gang, who's been involved in drug culture, that's been involved in gang banging. And we recruit these guys that are clean. They have stopped that life. They've got all the information and knowledge of how to stop a disease like that.
From the age of 14 years old, I belong to one of the biggest groups that still exist in the Western Cape. I belong to the Ugly American Gang. I grew up in prison from the age of 14 till about 35 before I made the decision to change my life. I'm also a prison gang member. I belong to the 26 gang and to the 27 gang, but I also engage with all 3 prison gangs, the 26, 27, 28 gang. So I have a lot of respect on the streets and in the prison. So that's why I think I'm credible to engage or to interact with especially the group leaders. And through the time I spend on the road, I also have a relationship with a high-risk individual that is between 16 and 25 years old that are now active in high street activities.
My background is I belong to one of the oldest and one of the notorious gangsters in the Western Cape, the Mongrels. Like Colin said, I grew up in prison. I'm also belong to a gang to the 26. And also the guys, they got the respect for me. Not just because of my age, because of my experience. And when I was in jail, I don't have a cloth, a black cloth on my document that the guys don't want to do nothing to do with me. That's why I got the respect between the guys. I can interact with any gang leader, any hires that's on the road, because I understand their language. I know what's going on.
Okay, I've been in prison for quite a few sentences, but then I became a drug addict. I became totally hooked on drugs, and at that time I became a daddy also, and I realized I have to change now because I want to be a great daddy. That was my whole aim. I want to be a good daddy, and there I found help, and after that I realized I'm gonna help others through my life. So I've been working here at the center as a facilitator, working with young guys derailed on substance, and then when this program came in, I see an opportunity and I grabbed the opportunity.
So should the shooting have been taking place already, they would try to stop the retaliation and work with the gang that they know. And obviously these guys are all streetwise. They are credible messengers. They are well recognized by the other gangs, well recognized by the community. We do a check on their lives of how credible they are in the area before we deploy them.
This morning I had to pull out the car. So when I was pulling out the car, so a young, small boy, say about 7 years old, came running into the center saying that they want to shoot. And so I just came up, I got Colin and I got Wilfred, and we got into the car. And so when we came out, so things was already happening because people was already moving around. So we went to a particular high-risk individual and we spoke to him just to get more feedback of really what is happening.
Because this is what Glenn showed me through the window. He showed me, look, the guys is going to shoot now. They're up. They with their arms. They're ready to go do their thing.
We went to the group as they have calmed down already, but they were still very high attacking most of the guy. But the leader of them, the main man, he was a bit calmed down, so we could have spoke with him now. And we told him, okay, but he didn't want to go there. He said he's not going to humble himself again to go there because he got also his pride and everything. So if they want to solve everything, then we have to get them.
You brought that IRS group's leaders to this group, and then you just have that discussion and the issue was resolved there. Yes. Is that what you say?
Yeah, we discussed about what the consequences going to be about this gang fight.
Okay.
Because the police are going to be informed. Some of the gang members are going to be arrested. Some of them are going to die. So they realize that is how this thing is going to close.
Today we're celebrating 36 days. So we want to go as far as possible. So just keep your ears on the ground and do what you do best, and that is to interrupt the violence. And let's go do the job. Thank you.
So the idea is not an anti-gang program. It is only to reduce the violence and to alter the behavior of high-risk individuals out there. It's built on 4 pillars. One of the pillars is identify and detect possible violence of taking place. That's the one pillar. The next pillar will be interrupt the transfer of the violence from individual to individual. The next pillar is to alter the behavior of that high-risk individual or the group. And the last one will be to data everything, because it's a data-driven approach. Okay, this is just a map of Hanover Park, the entire area of Hanover Park, and this is a area we're working in. There's also police boundaries, community boundaries, council, ward boundaries, but our thing is focused on what the community says. So there's 9 pockets that we work in, and it's broken up into areas that they have named. So what we do here, we go on the community name of the area. So here we would maybe have what we call the Cowboy Town, and that's a community name for the area. Then we will have what we call the back streets here, also a community name. Then we've got what we call the states here. Then we've got this side, we've got what we call the plenty. And then we've got also the jungle area. And then we've got the Taliban area. And then we've got the ghost town area, right? So these, and then we've got the village area. So these is community names that's given to the areas. We recognize that and we work according to the data that they give us, and we also get from different sources. But this is the map that we work in. Street names is there as well, so that when the interrupters or the outreach worker needs to get somewhere, he needs to look at where it is, get there as quick as he possibly can. If there's anything that happens, they look at the different routes to get there very quickly. Most of the time they're on foot, but if they need transport, they will get the center driver and say they need to be from point A to point B in maybe 2 minutes. So they use transport, but most of the time these guys are on foot through the areas. Every area that I showed you belongs to a different high-risk group. Every area belongs to a different high-risk group. So it's very difficult. Sometimes some of the areas is just split with the road. So there'll be a high-risk group here and a high-risk group there. That's opponents from one another, but that makes the work very difficult.
If we go into a certain area, we have our maps, as you can see. So we identify and detect who is in that area. So when we come into the area, we will make contact with the guys that we know are in the area. So we're not unfamiliar who's in the area because we did our mapping and we have our database. We know who our contacts is. We have people in the community, we have high-risk individuals, we have people that are in partnership with us. So it is very unlikely that we will be unfamiliar in any area here in Hanover Park. We walk the beach on a daily basis. We build relationship with the high-risk individuals and we spend time with them. So if there's any conflict in the area, we have credible messengers in the different beats. We have contact numbers of one another. So if there's conflict in the beat, any shooting, we will be the first to know. We go to the beat. We call it a shooting response. We talk to the guys on the street, and because of our background, they trust us. So they will talk with us, tell us what's happening. And because, again, it's our credibility and our background that counts a lot, we will also talk as they talk on the streets, and obviously we know the rules of the groups, of the gangs that we belong to, and then we will see how we can use our skill to mediate this conflict so that it can be resolved.
We don't use names of gangs, unfortunately. We're not at liberty. We will use group 1, group 2, group 3. So if group 1 is a particular gang, we would ask that group, the young group that's doing the shooting, look, how do you link yourself to the gang? Then we will find out there's a little low respect. He's got the tattoo, but he doesn't respect the gang or the gang boss. So we put him in a splinter group. Then we find out maybe there's 3 to 4 splinter groups out of one gang. So sometimes these guys would do some shooting on the ground and the big gang will be blamed and they would have no clue. And then we would go to what we call the Eagle's Nest, the boss of that gang. And he would tell us, I had no idea of this shooting. I don't even know how the guys got the gun. Because normally a gun gets assigned to a young individual that's going to do a shooting. And they would have no clue where the gun comes from. So then we realized the splinter groups is actually more dangerous. Because they don't act under assignment. They don't act under the gang boss. So we focused a lot on the splinter groups. Now the bigger guys, like you call the guys that sit in Eagle's Nest, these guys are very well-behaved people. There's no shouting and killing and anger going on there. The guys sit, you drink a Coke. It's more syndicate type of style, you know. So on that level, we don't interfere much because this is an organization and we respect the organization. The guy that's doing the shooting on the ground is the guy we want to get to and want to alter his behavior. Isn't there a better way to solve the conflict than to shoot the guy in his head? And then you can't even aim properly, you miss the guy and you shoot the kid. We've got a good relationship with all gang leaders. Good relationship, we talk to them on a daily basis, we negotiate with them on a daily basis. Should of their members get involved in conflict that can erupt into a shooting, we will contact them and say, some of you guys is out here, man. The guy is losing his mind because he's running around with a gun. They will come out themselves. Discipline the guy and tell him, hey, what you doing? This is not supposed to happen. We're trying to reduce the violence. We're solving our problems in other manners besides shooting or killing each other. What we've got here is, like I explained earlier, is the different maps of the different areas. But on these maps, we physically put the data into the map. So out of every point here, you'll find, maybe if we look at this map and say, for instance, this is what we call the back streets or the Taliban, and a shooting has taken place in that area, we would then respond to the shooting. So what we would do here, we would take the data out of that particular point, and the data is what the community has to say, what the people in the area has to say, what the high-risk individual has to say, what the perceptions is in the area, and we would record all that data and pocket it into this particular thing. If a shooting has taken place, obviously the statistics of the shooting will go into this thing, the name, the address, the area where the guy has been shot, reasons why he's been shot, has it been gang related, has it been drug related, is it a girlfriend issue, is it a robbery, whatever the reason for the shooting was, we will record it into that particular data there. So should we press a button there, we will know exactly why that shooting has taken place. We will also record what group is involved and from what area the group is that was involved in the shooting, so that we can stop the retaliation. So by the time our guy records that data here, seconds later, the next interrupter will be in the area where the retaliation can possibly take place, and speak to these guys not to retaliate, not to shoot. All the data is encrypted, there's no names on it. All the forms they fill in, there's no names, it's all a coded name. If a guy comes for help, we will code him as 011/C5. He's just got the code. Only the outreach worker or the interrupter will know who he is. All our information stays in this room. It's only for the purpose of data. It goes nowhere. We monitor and evaluate what has happened, how it has happened, what was the cause of it, and how we can reduce that violence or that particular shooting that has taken place. So like a lot of gangs live in different areas, live in different pockets in their areas. So I would then take my best interrupter, most credible, to go into that area and stop the retaliation. But the guy that's not credible, he might be one of our interrupters, but he might not be credible in that area, or he might not be credible in that gang. Then you get interrupters that's credible across the board, because they used to belong to the prison gang, and that gives them credibility across the board because of the number system. And the guys, you see, the gang culture has got certain codes of conduct which they respect. Most of them are actually good leaders. If you can alter their behaviors from where they act to where they're supposed to be, you're going to sit with a brilliant leader, because they stick to their code of conduct. They stick to their disciplines. So these guys that we have trained, they are so disciplined. I can tell you, I don't get my church members to be that disciplined.
In the groups, there are certain laws, to put it that way. If you got stabbed, you have to go and stab someone. It's about the blood thing. You must pick up your blood again, because you can very easily, for them, lose face on the street. You can lose some respect. So to try to change the behavior and norm of the individual is always very challenging, and the fear is always there's going to die some people, someone can die out of this conflict. So it is, so now you have to mediate, you have to talk, and sometimes when the guys got hurt or one of their brothers got hurt, they don't understand anything, because their mindsets, they are being like indoctrinated that they need to flow more blood. The thing is, they know we do understand. Yeah. They know where we're coming from. So they know we do understand. They can see it on our bodies. We have scars. People have testified to them already that are still active, where we're coming from. So it is you have to draw the picture for him to see where he's going to. And the words cannot really explain when the thing is hot, how to cool down this person, because you have to talk, you have to show him the signs, where he's heading to, and we have to speak about people that are going to lose their lives. We have to speak about the fear of the communities, the children. We have to draw all the pictures. We have to let him see he's off to the CMAX, where we're coming from. We have to tell him how it is there in prison, and at the end that he can see it is no benefit to go out there.
They do understand that if blood has fallen from one group, blood must be picked up from the other group. They understand that. But they also understand that that individual, that gangster, that guy with that behavior, that anger, he is actually a guy that can change because they have changed. They know that deep down inside of him, there's something that they can prick and they can touch it and say, is it necessary? They will then pave him the way forward. What's going to happen after the retaliation? He should understand. They paint him the picture about his family, about his neighbors, about where he might end up in prison, and how his life will be a total mess, and how he will lose up to 10 or 15 years of his life. And then they will put their lives on the plate and show him what happened to them because of making that particular mistake. It could have been because of a woman, it could have been because of money, it could have been because of drugs. They will then paint a picture. Is it worth the while?
We were mediating a conflict, and 4 guys came, but they had guns on them. They wanted to come shoot, and some of their guys did already killed other guys, what other guys did. But when they saw us, out of respect, they turned around and just left. They didn't do it. They left what they wanted to do. They didn't do.
I was in the incident. The one guy, he was we came on the scene. We were on the scene, and there's one guy. He wanted to stab the one guy, but he's my client, the one with the knife, and he was my client. And I shout on his name, and I shout with anger. I said, and then he stopped. And he just looked and he leave the guy and he stopped. But he was still angry, so I leave him, but because he did what I want him to do. But I knew I can't talk with you now, you're still angry. And he just went away. So afterwards, I go back to him and we talk and I calm him down and he understand and I can explain what will be the consequences of him doing that. But the relationship is the main thing, the time spending together, and that is a powerful tool to change his mind, that he knows, hey, this guy is cares, and they all know all we do is just because we care for them. That's why they got, and we know where they're coming from, we know where, so I can say, no, I understand. But I understand also this is the consequences because I was there. I know, so don't tell me this, I know this gonna happen. So I'm 1-4 for him, so he can't come to me, I can always say for him, no, I know, because you know I know.
So our interrupter would stop the transfer violence, and then he would identify people around there and say, okay, this guy can get help. He would contact an outreach worker. The outreach worker would come alongside this high-risk individual, take him by his hand and tell him, look, what can I do for you? Guy would say, obviously, I need a job. Say, you're not job ready, can I make you job ready? Then he would put him in a job readiness program, which we cover the cost for that. He's not going to spend a cent. They put him in a job readiness program. They help him with his CV. They help him with his learners and with his drivers. They help him with his family issues, family dynamics, because they maybe put him out of his house. They speak to his gang boss, saying this guy wants an exit, he wants to change his life. And they go through the whole process with him. They would work with him for about 4 to 6 months. So it's not like we're going to help you, we take you by the hand and we leave you. We walk the whole road with you until you are recovered, until you're into a job. Even as we are speaking today, 5 guys is booked into a skills development center where they are going to become carpenters, but they are still shooters. They just didn't take their guns to the skills program. They are still shooters. So it's not like we can end the shooting by putting him in a carpentry school, but we are building him a little bit of hope for life, that he can maybe be somebody besides sitting on the street corners. Most of the gangsters hasn't finished primary school. So it's difficult to put him in the FET. But should the guy has completed primary school, we put him in the further education and training, the FET, or we put him in the job placement, or we put him in a volunteers program. And then we also run a local support group for high-risk individuals. Like there's a support group for addicts, support group for alcoholics. We've got a support group for high-risk individuals. Guys that are actually shooting. Guys who's getting up in the morning with an instruction to kill somebody. He wakes up, he wants to shoot somebody today. So we've got a support group for them. and we feed them, and then we have a program on anger management, communication, altering their behaviors.
So my next check julle guys nou. Gaan 'n bietjie pad toe man. Because we know most of the hires, so it is easy to pick up what is going on, and we know all the hot spots, all the beams. Most of these guys, they just need somebody, they need friends, they need somebody, and now they take you as their friend, and you are there for them in times of need. You go with them with the court cases, you stand with them, you help them where you can. Whatever they need is, you are trying your best to be there for them. And then in that mindset, you in your past, as they realize you are actually also your past, where you're coming from and what you're busy with, and they see where you are today and what you're doing. And I'm a married man, I got a house, I got kids, and I'm happy. I show them I'm happy, I'm good without being a gangster, and I make them feel also longing for what I have, and that's how I take the walk with them.
Everything is about perceptions. Whatever the media say can also end up into a gang war. Because one of the media clips that came out said one group has got 2 down, other group has got 5 down. So they created a competition, and when the groups read the media clip, they realized that we're losing this battle, and they saw it in some media clip. So when we saw the media clip, we immediately went to the group to say, this is not a competition, guys, you know, this is lives. How can we better solve this problem? Most of the media stuff was half false, so it makes our job a little bit difficult. So the minute we see it, we would go out there and see how we can get the truth into the guy's head so that he doesn't respond to a half story. We did a baseline stat on 3 years. So we started doing the statistics from 2010, 2011 and 2012. The 2012 stats is what we did ourselves, like a street level stats. The 2010 and 2011 we got from SEPs, which was very good stats. And then what we did, we said we will compete with those stats. In 2012, we had about, say, 40 killings and 53, maybe attempted murders. So we said we will compete against those to bring it, to reduce it to 50% with our help. Not saying we're going to do it. With our help, we can allow that stats to drop with about 50%. And we have seen it. So what we do a month-to-month analysis. If in January there was 2 killings, and there's January this year 1 killing, we would say it was reduced with 50%. You understand? So month to month, we compete against what happened in 2012. We also look at what happened in 2011 and 2010, and then the reasons why it happened. If there was a gang war at that time, obviously it's different. You know, there will be more killings if there's a gang war. So the idea is to mediate conflict constantly to reduce gang wars, that the guys don't have a gang war. But you're shooting and killing amongst gangsters for different reasons that we all know. That gets mediated on a day-to-day basis. But we are competing against the stats of last year to reduce it to 50% this year.
We believe that every person can be changed, because it have seems once upon a time impossible in my life also to lead a normal life. I know and I believe that this person's mindset can be changed. Maybe you can talk a lot with him, but it can be one word that can change his life.
If I look at data today, I think with the 7-month baseline and the 3-month implementation, they have gone through a lot of successes. And I'm not at the point to say the program is working. It's still a pilot program. But I can guarantee you that if it continues like this, this will be a module that will add value to reducing violence in many areas.
My dream in life is almost I can't dream anymore about the future because my age is against me. But what I'm doing now is, the dream of my life is to give something back in the community, because in my past I did cripple the community. So I'm trying to give back into the community and make my family's life better.
My dream is I'm living my dream. That is what I'm busy. I love what I'm doing, and this is where I see myself just helping others and just be there for others.
My dream in life is, because of my background, I also would like to achieve something in life where I can be proud of myself and say, although the past was dark, my future looked bright, is to make our communities a safer place.